Hi, I'm Bill McKeegan with Dan D'Agostino Master Audio Systems, and in front of me is our brand new Pendulum Integrated Amplifier in its beautiful black anodized finish. It also comes in the silver anodized finish as well. In today's video, we're going to go through the installation, connections, and operation of this great piece. So thank you for joining us, and we'll get right into it. Well, let's start with the rear panel and the connections that we have to make. A lot of these are the standard traditional connections that you'll be familiar with. Starting with the binding posts, these can be used with either banana plugs or spades or pins. When using a spade, tighten them by hand. Don't go crazy and use a wrench or anything like that to get a nice firm connection. We have three balanced inputs, input 1, 2, and 3 using XLR cables. There's also a preamp output using XLR for use with a subwoofer. There's also a pair of RCA inputs, which is a standard line level input, but if the unit is equipped with the phono module, this now turns into a dedicated phono input for a turntable, and you would also use the ground plug or ground lug here for connecting your tone arms ground to the Pendulum Integrated. If the unit is equipped with the digital streaming module as this one is, there will be these additional connections: the Ethernet connector, HDMI, which includes the enhanced audio return channel capability, an optical connector, as well as a Wi-Fi antenna connection. We include the antenna with the unit for the remote control, which would be this antenna. It is the same antenna. We would include two if you have the optional digital streaming module included, and that gets screwed into this antenna post. The last three connections that you might use is the 12-volt trigger output. This is for turning on another device. When the Pendulum Integrated is powered up, the 12-volt trigger will activate and again send that 12-volt trigger signal to another unit to turn it on, say a subwoofer or a source unit. RS-232 connection is used for a third-party application, third-party control system. Your dealer will be able to help you if that is a direction you want to go into. And then there's the headphone jack. Headphone jack is in the back, but you can leave it connected all the time as the headphone activation is done either from the front panel or from the remote control. And after everything is connected in your system, the last one, of course, is power. Your IEC connector here on the end, 15 amp style connection. And after that is done, the unit will go into standby automatically. After the unit is plugged in, it will go into standby mode, indicated by the Double D logo in the display. To activate or power up the unit from the front panel, just press the left knob in, let it go, and the unit will now go into full operating mode, which shows the current volume, which is at 0. The input that's active, as well as the balance setting. We'll go into all three of those in just a bit. To change the input, just rotate the knob, and it automatically goes into input mode, starting with input number 1, 2, 3, and 4. You do have your digital inputs as well. Those were the analog from network, the optical input, and of course HDMI. And just pick one that is your desire and click it, and now you have chosen input number 1. For volume, that is on the right side knob. To activate mute, press the right knob. The volume will go to 0. To reactivate volume, just turn the volume knob and it will go back to the original setting. To turn the unit off, just press and hold the left knob and the unit will return to standby. Input number 3 and input number 4 can be set for theater throughput mode, which allows for easy integration of the Pendulum Integrated Amplifier into a system that includes a home theater processor. If your processor has a balanced output, you would use input number 3 and set it for theater mode. If your surround processor has a single-ended output, we would use the input number 4. There is one caveat in that if the input 4 or the unit itself has the phono module, that is used with input 4 and it cannot be set for theater mode. But if it's not equipped with the phono module, you can set it. All you have to do is rotate the knob to input, say 3 in this case, and then hold the knob in, and the unit will show that input 3 at the bottom. Instead of saying 3, we'll say theater. If we wanted input number 4 now, we would go back to the theater, which is input 3. You could see it changed back to input 3. we would go to input 4, same procedure of holding the knob in, and now input 4 would be the theater. So if you make a mistake or decide to change, you first have to turn, say, input 3 back into a normal input where it says input 3 before you can select input number 4 for the theater input. The display, when either of those inputs is activated with the theater mode set, will show the volume at number 70. And that is where the volume is neither have any gain nor attenuation, and now your surround processor takes over all the volume control applications for your theater listening. The Pendulum Integrated includes a number of optional settings that you access via its menu system. Activate the menu system by pressing the left knob quickly. Balance will be shown first. To adjust balance, rotate the knob either to the left or the right. You will notice that the volume numbers 0 to 100 are now replaced by 0 as the center balance, -10 or -20 for either the left side or right side. As you rotate the knob to the left, that will lower the left channel's output, appearing to increase the output on the right side, and vice versa. If you rotate the knob to the right, you will be lowering the right channel, appearing to increase the output on the left side. One last indicator of balance is the little red indicator on the bottom. It has changed from gold for center to either the left side or the right side, depending on your balance setting. There are other optional settings in the menu system. One is inverted, which inverts the polarity of the signal. Just clicking it, it'll show you that it is inverted, and that is again inverting the absolute phase of the system. The display will now turn pink when the unit is in inverted polarity. Simply going back and clicking again, the X goes out of the signal and we'll be back to the green display that we always have. Other options in the menu would be the dark mode. We activate the dark mode, the moon lights up, and when the unit is in dark mode, after about 10 or 15 seconds, the unit's display will turn off. To activate it again, or when any change is made to the unit, say an input or volume, the display will once again illuminate, and again in about 10 seconds, the display will then go off again in its dark mode. Clicking again in the normal mode, and we've eliminated dark mode. One other option is the headphone jack. The headphone input is in the back of the unit. It can be always on connected, and by hitting the headphone, the input that is active currently will now feed its signal to the headphone output jack. The preamp output and the speaker outputs are muted when in headphone operation. You will also see a little headphone icon displayed in the main display as well. One last option here in the menu system is info. This shows metadata. If your digital module is included with your unit, this will now show the song and the artist, the basic metadata of the song that you're playing. The remote control that we include with the Pendulum Integrated features Bluetooth technology, bi-directional Bluetooth technology, so it is very important that the antenna is attached in the back of the unit as we showed before. The remote control has a power on switch. When we power it on, the double D logo will come up. There was a brief showing of the Bluetooth logo, and as soon as the unit makes connection, the logo disappears and it makes direct communication now with the unit itself. All the adjustments I make here, of course, will be reflected in the unit's main display, but that also happens on the volume control, that if I am making adjustments there, it's reflected on the unit itself. Most of the operation is exactly the same between the unit's faceplate control and the remote control, but there are some differences. Main volume is just the knob itself. To enter the input mode or the settings mode, just click on the display, and now we are into the display. And here's where we would select our inputs, which we did before on the front panel, works exactly the same. Or we can go into a couple other ones that we have in settings. We did balance and polarity, dark mode, those are all the same, but there is a remote brightness so that we can turn down the remote's display if we want. And by lowering the number, we would lower the brightness of the remote itself.
Just highlighting the return will take us back to the main display. If there was others we want to adjust, like the main display's brightness, that is also here. So we can go to the display settings, and it's exactly the same. We can lower the display, and you can see the display dimming as I lower the display. We'll leave it at full brightness and return. There are a couple of more that we have in the remotes operation only. And these are in settings, or in system, excuse me. The Wi-Fi is off by default. We turn the Wi-Fi radio off unless you need it. Here's where you would activate it, and we'd go through the Wi-Fi setup using our app. We also have the HDMI. If you have the HDMI connection, this setting will allow you to make sure your TV works perfectly with the Pendulum Integrated. And then there is factory reset. So if you've made a lot of changes and just want to get back to how we've shipped the unit, factory reset would be that. There is a confirmation here to make sure that you don't do it by accident.
Well, thank you for joining me. I hope you got something out of all the great features of the Pendulum Integrated Amplifier. All of this is available in the owner's manual as well that comes with the unit. That's also available online. Please subscribe, like, and share this video with all your friends, and thank you very much.